Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm Wendy,
I'm Lori,
I'm Katie.
and welcome to the Front Row Show.
created by the fans for the fans.
Our next guest is responsible for the fantastic light show you see at Seventh Heaven Shows. Please welcome Zach.
Hello.
Hello. We don't see you. There you are.
Here
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
hanging in there.
You even have a light show in your room.
I know, that looks kind of cool.
Where I go.
Nice.
Absolutely. You guys, so you guys are all hanging in there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Missing you guys.
No.
Yeah.
It's been rough for sure.
Yeah. So how are you?
I'm just, doing what I can. Honestly, it's taking gigs that come up. There's a few things here and there at the moment, but it's pretty dry, to be honest. There's not a lot of work out there right now.
You want to tell us what you're working on?
Honestly, I'm working on like installs right now. So
Okay.
there's a couple clubs that are willing to, they want to invest money right now, seeing that it's going to end soon enough and they'll be able to get back into business. So we're redesigning lighting rigs and programming stuff for people, that kind of stuff. Basically, it's the only thing that can be done right now for lighting, especially because, there's live streams happening, but there's not a whole lot of lighting involved for those things. So it's, it's very dry.
Well, hopefully they open soon.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that's
Yes, it would be nice to go back to normal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whatever that's going to be, though, when this is all done and said with.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people say it's going to be a year. A lot of people say it might be in the fall. There's so many answers and facts coming from so many directions that it's really hard to tell.
Yes. Let's hope for sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Hope.
I'm ready.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're ready to get back to shows and see everybody and
Yes.
see our favorite band. So
We don't want to wait until we have to go to Wisconsin, but we will if we have to.
I know, right? It's going to come down to that.
Yeah.
we'll be there.
We'll be there, but I mean, if that's what it takes.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only thing I really know how to do. So, being in this position right now is really tough because there is everything that I do has to involve, a crowd of people and some sort of an event. That's what I've done for the last, 8 years, almost 9 years. And so at this point, they're talking about drive-ins potentially happening and, that kind of a thing, but it just doesn't seem the same.
No, it doesn't.
The
The interaction is one of the best parts of a show. Sitting or standing and dancing with friends and singing along, and I mean, I think that's the whole point.
It is. I mean, that's why I love working for the band because, you see night after night the amount of people that, leave extremely happy.
Yes.
And that's why I started doing it in the first place, because that's what I felt when I left concerts. Growing up, feel every single night or every single time I'd go and I'd leave and I'd be like, when's the next show? What are we doing? That's how I get it.
So
How did you get into lighting?
Got into it. So I studied live sound and I studied video in college. And after that, I was at a festival. I was interning. It was in Naperville where I live. And so Seventh Heaven was opening up for some national. I think it was like Huey Lewis. And Dino was at front of house and I was at front of house. I was 20 years old, 19 years old. And, we became friends on Facebook and he hit me up, a few months later. And like the rest is kind of history. I started up, doing all kinds of stuff. I started working for them in 2012.
wow.
Yeah, 2012.
So like 8 years
8
now?
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could count 2011 partially, but I wasn't really doing much. When I started with them, like I was still learning, stuff. They didn't really have me doing a whole ton of stuff. And I wasn't doing like all the shows right at the beginning, but it turned into that very quickly. So it's been a lot of summers for sure.
Is this your only job, or do you do other things as well?
Yeah, I work with a few other artists, you
Okay.
know, some other bands. And I work at a lighting warehouse up in Arlington Heights. We basically provide lighting rigs and anything needed for concert tours, events, corporate, that kind of thing. So, you know, if you need a lighting rig and a stage, like, that's the company.
That's what we'll go to. We'll go to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's nice to work for them too, because whenever we have like specific special shows that might be bigger or, you know, more special than others, we can amp up the visual, the lighting, and the video, and we can get gear from that same company that I work for. And they usually give me a pretty good discount, so it's always
That's convenient. Nice.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah,
Good.
that's been fun, but it's definitely been a treat working for them. You know, it's been getting to travel and do some fly dates, some pretty incredible venues. You know, I'm just hoping that it comes back and it comes back the same, because, you know, that's what stresses me out the most, is that it'll come back and it'll be like vastly different
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
what it used to be. And it's crazy that could just happen overnight, you know.
The whole world, not just us, but the whole world.
Right. And it's unbelievable to think that can
It's
happen.
insane. And then nothing's going to really go back to the way it was. I
Right.
mean, it's going to be a whole new normal. It's
Exactly.
crazy.
I'm just, you know, I'm hoping for the best.
Hmm.
I think, you know, like a lot of other situations that have happened in the past in the world, you know, we're going to get through it.
Yes.
Best
We're going to
thing
come
that
out
we-
stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's been nice having the time off, though. It's been a positive thing, because been able to come up with new ideas and kind of regroup, you know, figure out what the show can be. It's really hard when you're going like 100 miles an hour, especially in the summer with these guys. It doesn't really give you a whole lot of time to think about, you know, the next year or the fall, or like, what are we going to do differently? You kind of come to the point where you've got like a 2-week or a 3-week period where it's like, we're going into club season now. We got to figure something out. And then it becomes, you know,
Yeah.
a speedy process.
Yes. Wow.
So, but the process is really fun. That's what I enjoy the most. You know,
Mhm.
when I started doing lights, especially with Seventh Heaven, you know, I meet up with like Nick Cox, and we'd sit down with a napkin and sketch out something that looked cool to the both of us. And then we eventually were able to build it. You know, we got all the pieces, all the Legos.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So your dreams kind of became a reality.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, I grew up going to concerts constantly. And so I wanted to work in the industry in one way or another. And I knew it wasn't going to be on stage. So I figured I'd try something else. And like, I thought the live sound thing was going to be for me, but then I got into the lighting thing. And Dino actually was the one that really pushed me on that. Because when I was working for the band when I was younger, I was more so just kind of doing, you know, like moving gear, shooting video here and there, and that kind of thing. And eventually, Dino, you know, said like, "Do you want to try running the lights tonight?" And that was kind of the time where it just switched. Something just clicked.
That's cool. That's awesome.
And it's cool because it gives you that inrush, you know, that you're working with the band as they're playing, and it's all in real time, and it feels like an instrument with the lights, you know. And Dino says the same thing about the sound. That's, you know, that brings us a lot of joy, because they do feel like instruments, and every night it can be different. Every night somebody could make a mistake. It could be a band member, or it could be one of us.
Mhm.
And, you know, it really depends on how bad the mistake is, but it might get noticed, it might not.
From a fan's perspective, I can tell you right now, we usually don't notice.
You don't notice it? That's good. That's good to know.
No. It's mostly,
No.
oh, cool music. Oh, look
We
at
would
them
not-
play guitar.
That's the problem
we-
for me. I notice everything, and, you know, even
Yeah.
when I go to other shows, I try to not do that, but
Yeah.
it's gotten to a point now where we try to make everything so tight knit, you know, and visually the same thing, super tight knit, and it fits the audio. And it's hard to get that consistency every night and for it to be perfect every night. It's a challenge for sure.
Imagine.
Well, you bet.
But they're all great people to work with.
They are. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're all right.
I've been working with Ryan and Dino since day one, and then everyone else. Ryan, Dino, and the band, and then everyone else that has come along. There's been great people through and still here.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. So, I guess a huge congratulations are to you because you made a post about you being in the top 10 semifinalist list
Woohoo!
for
That's
2029 programmers competition.
Oh yeah,
Yay!
Hey, so do you want to tell us about that?
yeah. It was a fun little thing that kind of came up right when the lockdown happened. So a bunch of my friends and I were laid off. The band was cut from doing shows, and it became dry almost immediately. And so one of the companies that I work with a lot, and I use a lot of their gear, they're called Chauvet Professional, and they make great products. Shout out. And so they did a competition, like an online thing, and it was supposed to be for one of their demos happening overseas. They do these big lighting trade shows. And it's a programming competition where they'll send you a show file similar to the one back there. And you have a month to program that show file using whatever song you want. And then, all these people submit and they choose, top 3, top 10. And it was cool because there was one that happened when I went to a trade show in Vegas just in the past November. And I wasn't able to actually take part in the competition because I had a project come up like right last minute before I had to leave, so I wasn't able to do it. But it's cool because they have the winner play the show back on the actual lighting rig in Vegas, and so that's what it was supposed to be. But they still went ahead and did the competition anyways. So it was fun. It was definitely.
What song did you choose?
I was going to ask
I
that.
took a Bruno Mars song.
Which one?
One of my buddies is he works with their production team, and so I got the tracks for like the intro of his last tour that he did. It was like the 24 Karat Magic tour, and so I was like, I just want the intro tracks, that one first song at the beginning, and so I got that and used it, and it was great. And I thought it would work because who doesn't like Bruno Mars?
Right?
Anybody
Yeah.
that says they don't like Bruno Mars, they're lying to you. They like at least one song.
Yes, they do. And it's most likely Uptown Funk.
That's right.
Yeah.
At least for us it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I was just listening to Just the Way You Are in the car during lunch today. I was like, yes.
Yes, he's very good, very talented.
Very.
That's super. It's awesome.
Oh.
Yeah, definitely a cool thing with those competitions. I hope there's more companies that do that during this lockdown. It's kind of a thing for LDs to be able to it doesn't seem so bored. I guess you can really spend that whole month working on that one thing. That's exactly what I did. I sat in this room for that entire month because there was nothing else to do.
No, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Kind of why we started this. There was nothing else to do.
This is where we're at. No, but I love it. I appreciate that you guys did something like this. It's really cool.
We appreciate that you joined, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this. No one wanted to do
We're all
it.
just waiting around, right?
Yeah.
It's fun. Find out some things that we don't know, and interesting.
Yeah.
And
Get to know you better.
then the
Yeah.
fans get to learn about you guys and connect, even though we're not all seeing each other
Yeah.
at shows, they can still connect with you guys.
Yeah, that's the best part about it.
And it's free.
Yeah. And it's
Good
free.
night,
It's
free.
$3.95.
Yes. That's why I like it.
But who is the biggest name or band that you've ever done lights for?
Oh man.
Or your
Probably.
favorite one besides Seventh Heaven?
Yeah, I got to do lights for Miranda Lambert, which was
Oh,
really
that's
cool.
cool.
That'd probably be the biggest one. Yeah, she did a show in the city, and they needed a guy last minute, and I got a call literally the morning of the show. My buddy called me. He's like, hey, can you run lights for a show tonight? But I need you there in like an hour. And I'm like, sure. He's like, it's for Miranda Lambert. And I was like, you're joking. I'm like, I'm like, that's a joke, man. Don't do that. But it was, and it was cool.
Did you meet her?
Yeah.
She cool?
Yeah, definitely cool. She's definitely.
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
I mean, I don't do the country thing, too much. I'm down for it, but it was definitely like a complete change. That was definitely the first country show I ever did to date, and it was fun. Like it was a fun change. And sometimes those are the best shows where it's completely different. You have no idea what's going to go on. You just gotta roll with it. And that's how I started doing it with Seventh Heaven. I just had to roll with it. Now it's at a point where the show's all programmed, and a lot of the times it just runs itself. Once the plane's at cruising altitude, you hit the autopilot and,
You're set.
you're
That's
in.
cool.
Yeah.
You also did Blink 182, right? Didn't you do lights for them?
Didn't operate the lights for them, but did work on the show. I was the house LD on the stage that they played at Riot Fest.
Okay.
So,
That's cool.
yeah, basically, when they come in, I meet their LD and just get him whatever he needs.
Okay.
I'm basically just the person that gets him whatever he needs, whether it's people to move things or, whatever. And that was a dream, though. That was, Blink 182 was in my top 3 favorite bands for years. I mean, they still kind of are. They're my top 5. I'll give them that.
Were you like starstruck? I think
I was.
Yeah.
At the very last minute before, like I'd say 5 minutes before their intro, their LD asked if I could go find 2 more hazers, which are like fog machines.
Okay.
He's like, we need more fog machines. I'm like, okay, I'll go over to stage 2. And so I brought him up onto the stage, and Mark Hoppus, who's their bass player, was just standing there. So I managed to get a picture with him and say hello. And so if I hadn't grabbed those hazers, that wouldn't have happened. So that was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and those are some of the best moments. And like that night, I was definitely thinking like I love what I do, and those are some of the best nights where you think that when you're on site, you're at the show, you're like, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I've dreamed of this since middle school, and it's just cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, who would be your person that you would love to do lights for that you haven't, like your favorite band, like whoever, like you'd be like, if they came to town, I would love to do their lights. Who would that be?
Oh man,
it could be more than one if you have more than one.
yeah. I'd say probably like 21 Pilots. 21 Pilots.
Oh yes,
they're one of my favorite bands. I actually know their lighting team too, so whenever they come through Chicago, we get to go to their shows and hang out at front of house and watch their dude Tyler run lights, and he's amazing. And so those guys are a big inspiration, and they do a great job. But I would say if there ever came a time where they were needing to leave or looking to leave or something, I would definitely take over on that. But yeah, 21 Pilots, Fall Out Boy would be cool.
Fall Out Boy would be cool.
I got a story about that. Isn't one of them from around here? And I think the singer owns my childhood home.
The dude with the hat, right?
I'd love to see my old house.
Would be Patrick Stump.
Yes.
Yes. He always wears a hat. Yeah.
That's cool though.
You should just go up and knock on the door one day.
It doesn't seem like anybody's there. I just want to see my old house.
Right. That'd be cool. Yeah, I think he lives in LA for the most part, but you never know, you might catch him.
That would be cool. Because my old neighbors would be like, oh, guess who was in town this weekend? I'm like, you're supposed to tell me. I want to see the house.
Yeah. That's cool.
That is an excuse to meet him as well, but
Yeah.
You might have to show proof though, because I don't know if he'd believe you.
I do have a lot of proof. I'll bring it.
Okay, yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. Oh man.
But it didn't happen.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have any funny stories you could share?
You're
allowed to share?
Well, I mean, man, did you guys have Ryan on already?
Nope.
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. That doesn't mean you can't tell a story, though.
Yeah.
I might let him tell you the stories.
Oh, okay.
Oh, come on. Share one.
There's been a lot. I mean, there was one of the more notable ones, we opened for, actually we played after a band called Hinder, and they are a rock band, and we played with them in Iowa, maybe 2016. And the load-in was an absolute nightmare. It was like a mile-long load-in, and it was just the worst situation you can imagine with potholes and gravel and getting all this gear. But I remember seeing, so our old drum tech, his name was Dan Marino, and he was great to work with. And he just turns to Ryan, and I look at him, and he just starts nodding his head. And I was like, that's when you know it's going to be a rough one, because he never does that. In that fashion that he did it, how he did it that night. I was like, it's going to be a rough one. And it just kind of sinks in. And we got through it, though, you know, because it was cool. We were opening up for that band, and we got to, you know, watch them play. And it turned, you know, the day turned out all right. But when you get those like sinking feelings, sometimes when you just don't have control of something,
Yes.
or you know that you don't have control of something, it tends to sit with you for a while.
Yes, it does.
So something like that, you know, if there's some sort of a show-stopping failure that's just uncontrollable, you know, whether it has to do with power and we can't find, you know, the breaker box or something, we have to work towards that kind of stuff quick.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Okay. We'll have to ask Ryan about that story, though.
Yeah.
So I had the pleasure of seeing you play drums last year on the cruise.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, was that like the first time you were doing it with the band, if I remember correctly? Or I don't remember if you ever playing with them before. Yeah.
First time in a long time. I've been playing drums for like 15 or 16 years.
Wow.
And I took drum lessons for a long time. I played in bands throughout high school. Never got to actually play a show with Seventh Heaven, but I was always there if something, you know, happened and I was needed. But it never ever actually ended up happening. On the cruise was cool though, because they really needed somebody. And there's a lot of great musicians that I got to play with, you know, including Richie.
Yeah.
Never got to do a show with Rich, and that was fun.
It looked like fun. She showed us videos. It looked like a blast.
It was fun with everybody because there were so many different bands last year. So everyone was constantly mixing back and forth, you know.
Yeah.
And I know we were looking like, wait, that's Zach playing the drums.
Yeah, it was a last minute thing for sure.
Yeah, it was fun.
Would you ever play drums for a show?
I would play if I was asked. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be cool to see.
Yeah.
All right.
But who will be doing lights then, Jeff?
Yeah, I know. We'll get Jeff Dobbs in on
There you
the
go.
on
See,
the helm.
they got it already figured out. This is great.
Yeah, he's got it. He's got it down. He knows what's up.
Yes.
Yeah, he's done it a few times. Yep.
Didn't he do it with you on the cruise too? Didn't you guys do lights together?
Yeah, I needed his help. We ran into some issues on that cruise, but it ended up working out. We got through it. He's always a great help. That guy is a joy to work with.
We called him the jack of all trades. So
I would have to agree with you.
yes.
That was a fun cruise. That was like the most fun thing of 2020.
Definitely.
Yeah, then it kind of stopped there.
Yeah, it
You're
was
right,
like,
it
all
was.
right, you got your cruise, now you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah.
We're got off the boat when we did.
Oh my God. I heard
There was
that.
a couple weeks. There was like a couple weeks that went by until it started becoming a problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
I heard the last cruise ship came in like a week ago and they were like on the boat for over like 160 days. It's like, oh my God. That'd be
That would be tough.
terrifying.
I don't
Like-
think it. I think it becomes less luxurious too. as the
Yeah, I
long
don't think
time
I'd ever go
happens.
on one again after that.
I don't think
Yeah,
you get
like I'm
room
done.
service at your leisure.
No.
Yes, definitely.
So, what is your favorite venue, indoor or outdoor, that you like doing lights at?
Indoor would probably be Joe's Live.
That's cool. That's a nice big place.
That's
Mhm.
probably my favorite venue. Outdoors is tough because there's so many big festivals that I love. I like doing DeKalb Fest
I
every
knew you
year.
were going to say that.
That's a cool one. Yeah,
That's
that's
huge.
fun.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I suffer with a lot of the times in the summer specifically is that a lot of the audio companies or people that are providing the lighting, they don't provide lighting that is all that fantastic. It's usually pretty basic. You know, on a good night, I'll have LED pars, a bunch of LED pars that all change colors that I can control and integrate it into my show. And then on a really fantastic night, I'll have all these extra movers and stuff like you'd see at Joe's Live, that kind of a thing. But it's hard because lighting is usually the last thing that's looked at on the list when there's like budget and finance happening for a fest or a show. You know, they usually say like, oh, we don't really have a budget for lighting. And so it gets passed. You tend to see that more so than not at these fests. And I understand it because it is a financial thing, but you know, it could get to a place where it becomes better. And Richie's someone that fights for that kind of stuff. That's one thing I will definitely say, he fights for that kind of stuff.
Good.
Budget stuff with festivals is tricky.
It is.
You know, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's a tricky thing to handle.
Yeah.
Because it's a large gathering with all these bands at play, and you have to figure out exactly where all your finances are going to go.
And it's one of the things you can't always control either, like you said earlier. So that does stink.
Yeah, you have to hope for a good crowd.
Yes, that's one thing I'm going to miss during this fest season. Those crowds were insanely large. That's what made it so much fun. But sometimes that's what made it so much fun. You'd get the balloons or the bouncy balls going. It was fun.
Yeah.
And just being outside, and it was fun.
I mean, that's what really makes me remember the early years with the band when I was younger. You know, some of the first few years that I was with them, we played some huge shows, and it was kind of a shock to me because I'd been to shows like that, but I hadn't been on the other side of the stage doing something. And so it was a real shock at the beginning because there were, you know, we played in front of 5, 10, 15, sometimes 1,000 people on like a 4th of July. And, you know, it was just crazy.
My first show, I just got reminded the other day, my first show was like 3 years ago. And my friend took me and she's like, you need to see this band, but we need to get there early because the crowds get it pretty insane. And it was Elgin Rib Fest, and I remember it had just it was raining on and off, and we got there and there was like nobody there, and I was like, you're such a liar. Because I mean, I could go to the front, I could go to the back, I could go to the bathroom and get my spot back. And then we went to Streamwood Fest. That was insane.
That's definitely one of the notable ones.
Yes, but they do draw a huge crowd, and it kind of, to me, that makes all the difference. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved my first show. That's how I started it, and that's how I got into this whole band in the first place. But I think the crowd makes a huge difference.
It does. It's the atmosphere, it's the vibe, it's everything. And that's why, you know, though doing the large festivals in front of, you know, a couple thousand people, it's really fun. I really enjoy doing this.
Did you hear the airplane?
Yeah, that's what that is. I was like, what is that?
I'm sitting on the deck, so.
Oh.
Because I remember I used to see Seventh Heaven for the past couple years at Mount Prospect over here at Milas Park for Lions Club for the 4th of July. I for years before I started going more regular, and we would be able to go up front, go up back for a while, and there I kind of like going in the back because the crowds do get crazy. But I think there, because it's so dark behind it, unlike some other places that are just kind of bright with buildings, there's houses back there or nothing. The light show is awesome at that one. You know, it's kind of like Joe's Live, which is really good. I like the light show there. That's why I go in the back. Me and my sister used to go and sit in the back. And it's just nice because it's so black behind that it just makes it better.
Right.
So
it is a perspective thing.
Yes, it is.
It's a big difference.
You don't get it all.
when you're standing in front like we do all the time, and then sometimes I like to go in back to get pictures or record, and you're like, wow, this is what it really looks like.
A whole
you know?
different show back here.
It is. You're like, cool, take a whole bunch of shots. You're like, these are
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
You get all the colors in there, you know, the purples and blues and changing and
Yeah.
stuff. It makes a huge difference.
It does.
It makes moving around, something that is fun during a show, because typically people just try to find their spot and stay there. But like, a spot like Joe's Live, it's cool to move around. You can move up to the front for a little bit, then come to the back, perhaps go up on the balcony or something, get all the
wanna try
different
that.
perspectives.
I've always wanted to do the balcony. It looks like fun.
You
Looks like fun.
definitely get annihilated up there by the lights.
Oh, of
If you get-
course.
that's
And the pics, wherever you
fair
go.
warning if you go up there.
Yeah. All right, before we close out, I have a final question for you. You have to tell us your favorite Seventh Heaven song.
My favorite Seventh Heaven song, man. That one goes back.
It can
been
go back.
quite-
I mean, if you got
Yeah.
something that is
No,
old,
I mean, there's been quite a few records done even since I've been with them. But just in general, the amount of records that they've done. I mean, it'd probably have to be like Nick Cox doing Cellophane, or
Yes. Yes. That's one of my favorites.
yeah, I would say Nick Cox with Cellophane for sure. It's an oldie and it's a goldie.
yes, it is. And I think he should play it more.
Yes.
In case he's
Vincent.
watching, Nick, you should play it more.
There
I
was
always
a
request
stint-
that.
There was a stint for like a solid year and a half where they played it at almost every show, and it was maybe like 5 years ago, and then they stopped, and I was like, you guys got to keep playing that. That's one of them that you've got to keep playing.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that one's
I
good.
agree.
Yeah, I record that. I request it quite a few times throughout the year.
So
'Cause
I
that's the
was-
only they do play it is when you request it. So
yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah.
So.
Nice.
Well, thank you, Zach, for letting us
Yes.
interview you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you
you for
guys.
joining us.
We
Thanks
hope to
for-
see you soon.
Yes.
As do I. As do I.
Maybe it will be in Wisconsin. Who knows?
That's fine by me.
Yes, it's fine here too. Thank you very
Awesome.
much. We
Yes,
appreciate
thank
it.
We will see you soon.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and tune in next time to see who our next guest will be. Bye.
Night.